All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jamie Bellamy, Regional Manager for Vertex Systems. We have Sanford Chandler, President and CEO. He'll be our presenter today. Sanford's been working with agencies that serve people with disabilities for about 30 years, I think a little longer than that actually. Like many, he chose to be involved in working with people with disabilities as a result of a family member. He founded Vertex Systems and responsible for rapid growth that we're having, and as a result of the launch of our Intuition by Vertex product line. Today he's going to share things he's learned from working with hundreds of agencies nationally, and so I'm going to turn this over to Sanford to present to you today 3 proven strategies to increase service utilization. Sanford, are you ready?
I am. Thank you very much, Jamie.
All right.
Are you able to hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you all for joining the webinar today. As I look at the attendee list, I see several of our customers, some early, some recent ones in the audience today. So please accept a special thank you for attending this. It means a lot. Your time is important, so I will come right to the point and let you know how you will benefit from this webinar today. Today, I am going to empower you to become a financial strategist and a change agent for your agency. I will share with you how to increase top-line revenue by showing you that by changing the tools you use to track and bill funding sources, you can deliver and bill more services, of which Medicaid is a principal source for many of you. I will also share how to reduce the administrative time your staff spend each month processing billing to your various funding sources. As a result, you'll be better stewards for all stakeholders and more financially responsible. All things that will make your job more rewarding and your agency stronger financially. Just a moment for my background. For many years, Vertex focused on solutions primarily for workshop payroll. There was a long time we were only known for that. And as a result, we developed a very large national customer base, of which many of those early customers are still with us today. I was fortunate enough to employ and work with many people over the years, among them programmers, analysts, customer service, and marketing and sales people, all who wanted to work where they could make a difference. I am proud to have provided that opportunity. After Y2K passed and the world did not implode, as many prophets of doom at the time imagined, as some of you will recall, we turned our attention to solving other problems customers ask our help with. Most notably was service delivery and the billing for those services. I don't have to tell you that the difficulties and the complexities have only increased since then. So who is Vertex? This is a brief moment for advertising, but I promise to be quick so we can get into the meat. Vertex Systems helps agencies that serve people with disabilities with their processes for service delivery and billing funding sources without having to do paper pushing, rely on spreadsheets, and use inadequate software. And that's very strategic in getting your service delivery, your documentation and units of service, billing, and cash application processes more automated. Now, of course, Excel has made a huge improvement in the back office, but that is but one aspect of a much more complex process. Customers are jumping on our cloud platform at a rapid rate today to do three things. One, they're wanting to streamline the process of providing and documenting services to the people served. Two, to reduce paperwork and then eliminate the unnecessary administrative overhead. And three, maximize the utilization of services delivered and billed. The movement to community programs has only accelerated our growth. Our move to provide real mobile technology to our customers was just a part of our preparation for the industry move from facility-based programs and workshops to community-based programs. The use of mobile devices, for example, tablets and smartphones, and today's web technology has provided the opportunity for agencies to make huge improvements in their processes and provide access to the information which they need so they can avoid carrying huge binders and reams of paper with them on field trips, something which I have observed many times. So what is the problem and why are we here? The old days of billing by attendance are over for most. Some still are fortunate to be able to do that. But the change to units has gotten more difficult and more time-consuming. In turn, this has introduced errors into the process that result in higher claim rejection rates and adding even more time and expense to fix and resubmit. Billing by units and having authorized services that are time-limited, and by time limited, I mean where you only have 30 days or 90 days to use a service that is authorized or you lose it. Obviously, that scenario is very different from if you have a year to use the service before you lose it. So those states that have the shorter duration are the ones most benefiting from our ability to maximize that utilization these days. But that requires better tools and processes if we are to eliminate the paper hassle and bill more authorized services. Otherwise, you will continue to burden DSPs with paperwork and leave money on the table at the end of each month. Now, from our point of view, we took a look and said, what's needed? And of course, it's innovation. So I'm going to ask you to think more broadly in terms of what the solution could be today. I want you to imagine that if you had no limitations, none, what would you need or wish for to make large improvements to your current processes? And money alone is not enough. But what would be needed to provide more services and to bill them in less time? Remember, you have no limitations. And you also want to give frontline staff the tools or the information that they need so that they could deliver more services that the client is already funded for that go undelivered at the end of each month. So that's going to be the key to how you could solve the problem. And of course, you want to be able to eliminate the unnecessary administrative time that is involved in translating service documentation into a claim and in turn cash in your bank, all without manual intervention for 98% of the claims. So if we're asking those questions, what might the solutions be? What if we gave the direct service providers a daily accounting of the services that were delivered to clients versus those that were budgeted? Now, if you think of this on the basis of a month or 90 days where you've got so many units to provide and you have to deliver those quickly and timely. If you get behind, you make them up or you slow down. So the goal, of course, is to deliver all the units that the client is entitled to receive. So what one has to do is to provide a daily accounting of that. And in my years, I have talked to many of the executive directors and CFOs that tell me that they don't know what their service utilization rate is, and they fear that if they did, it would be bad. They reason that maybe it's better they don't know. They tell me in a kidding tone. Others say it is on the 10th of the month of the next month before they know the units and dollars they billed for the prior month. And of course, you're already a third into the next month and you don't know the score for that month like you would if you were going to alter the outcome. So you cannot improve the utilization rate for the month without knowing the score daily, certainly weekly, so that you have the opportunity to change the outcome on a looking forward basis. When I've talked to directors, I've heard various stories about how they've worked diligently to improve the utilization rate, and I've heard examples of raising it from the low 80s to the high 90s and spending a year and a half or 2 years doing that, implementing the processes and the changes that would affect that. And of course, they're pretty proud of themselves. And they're thinking that as a result of all that they've done, there's nothing else that can be done. Well, certainly in the confines of the tools and the processes available to them, I'm confident that they are right. But what if you could change the tools or change the processes without having to invest more administrative time? What if that could happen? Not only that, but with better tools and processes, it was easier. Excel has made large improvements in extending and tabulating dollars after you receive the documentation from the DSP. It's on paper. So you have to deal with the issues associated with that. So as we approached the problem, we saw three things. Number one, you have to eliminate steps that people do. If paper is the problem, you have to eliminate that. You have to find a way that will enable that to happen, because the upside, if you're able to, is huge in terms of the ability to affect income or to remove inefficiencies. And you have to simplify by removing the need for multiple people to review and handle the data. And you have to take the position that you will never accept the reentry of data into another system via a keyboard. In today's electronic world, that just isn't necessary. And you want to move the process of collecting the documentation to the point of service. Just moving the process isn't enough, but you have to add to that better tools to make it easier and simpler so that the entire process is streamlined. And I'm reminded of a saying by William Pollard, who said that learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. So it's real easy when we've spent so much time working on improving a process that we just can't imagine how it could be improved. But it's always enjoyable when somebody comes behind you and can make a tweak that builds upon what you did. And that really is what Vertex has done. So rather than looking in the rearview mirror to drive the car, we chose to look through the front windshield in terms of where we needed to go, not where we had been. And what we come up with was, number one, you needed to give your frontline staff an actionable scorecard that was timely delivered, ideally every morning. And that scorecard needed to highlight what they needed to do. Remember, the goal was by giving a provider or a case manager the score every day for every combination of services a client could receive, looking at where you are in time and where you are on the units being delivered, is to leave nothing on the table at the end of the month. So if you had that score automatically every morning, can you alter the outcome of the month, or can you remain on target? When I've asked that question to customers, they tell me yes, and they say that clearly 1%, 2%, 3% is even possible. Some have achieved even more as a result. Obviously, it's a matter of your current processes and how time limited your services are to be delivered. So we're talking about the ability to drive top-line revenue at a much faster rate than trying to cut an expense that contributes to the bottom line. So $1 added at the top line all flows to the bottom line. So the key then becomes information that is organized, processed, and available to the right people in a format for decision making. When that's done, it's a benefit, not a burden. So what might that look like for tracking the utilization by client for each service that I talked about? Here is a scenario that we use in order to communicate that information to people on the front line or involved in the service delivery process. And there's a lot of information there for those that need to know that, but there's really only a couple of things that a provider needs to know. Number one, what services am I delivering to each client where I'm tracking well? And that would be represented by the green 101. The index that you see there is a measure of the units to be delivered and the pace of that delivery over time. So if there's 3 months to deliver the units and I'm 50% of the way through it and I've delivered 50% of the units, my index is going to be 100. So an index of 101 says I am slightly ahead of where I need to be. All systems are go. We will deliver at this pace all units by the end of the period that we have to deliver. And you'll see that in this case for Mr. Herzog, that happens to be September the 30th of 2016. And this report was reflecting the time for that. Conversely, the index of 138 says we are providing units much faster than time allows. So we are over-delivering and we're in danger of running out. So as a provider, I know I need to slow down so that units are available as we get nearer the deadline, in this case, November the 30th. Similarly, so instead of working with Kimberly Crum, I might be better advised to work with James Anderson, whose index was 11, meaning we have delivered very few units, and we are way behind in terms of delivering all the units and dollars by the stop date for that service that we have to deliver, in this case, the $934. So we're two-thirds of the way through it, and we've delivered only a fraction of the units, so we need to speed up. So what this is telling the provider is to, if you have a choice of who you work with James to deliver more units and speed up that process so that he gets the services that he needs. Now, a report like this comes out automatically. No work is required other than the setup of necessary information to drive this. This information falls out of the back of the system and can be on somebody's dashboard or tablet or report form to tell them what they need to do. Remember, the goal was to give somebody the right information so they're able to alter the outcome. The second thing is to be able then to increase the accountability and to prevent those mistakes. In our scenario, that is staff utilization. And the staff utilization is a function of the hours the person spends providing service versus the hours that they're working or they're being paid. And this is illustrating that Darcy, the DSP, has a planned utilization rate for September of 75%, and this is the week-by-week score of how she was doing during the course of the month. So it kept that in focus, and she ended the month at 79.3. Again, simply establishing the metric for each service provider and measuring this at a high level so that it becomes much like a guiding light, if you will. We only need to know the trend. Now, we can get into more of that and in another scenario, but we're very limited on time today. So the third thing, or the third strategy, if you will, is let automation do the heavy lifting. And by that, I mean to the many, many steps that agencies now do in order to process billing. You must simplify that. You must remove steps. You must automate steps. Here is an example that one of our customers actually mapped out before they automated those functions. And they determined there's roughly 20-some steps involving dozens of people, of which they were spending 192 hours per month just for oversight and the processing of billing. They knew there had to be a better way. After implementing the Vertex service billing, and of course there can be others, we don't have a quarter on that market, this is the process that it was simplified to. Those steps in the middle were all automated. They were all made into exceptions so that people could deal with only the things that needed their attention. And it took that 192 hours down to 31 hours of staff time in the month to do the same thing they were doing with 192 hours. So that was a return of 161 hours back to the staff and line staff that wasn't necessary because automation took the place of it. And a lot of that time went right back into service delivery time. So fixing the process freed up staff time to do much more important things than check, double check, and re-enter. So the function that we're talking about from the billing system is depicted here at a high level. And it's really, you give the direct service provider a pre-filled template as a concept with all the relevant information for the service session so they can quickly confirm exceptions, document, and have the system guide them through the creating of that documentation in a way that's much faster, much more reliable, because the system now is pushing the enforcement of all that out to the point of service, such that when that is approved, it flows to supervisors for review. They can approve it. It goes on to the business office for billing, who can examine it for exceptions, and the business office can deal within the 1% of records that need their attention and then process the electronic claims literally by pushing a button. The process of going from an approved piece of documentation into a valid claim is literally automatic without intervention. So we are nearing our final 3 minutes, and I hope that many of you have submitted questions so that we can take them. So I'm going to ask Jamie to see what questions we have and then ask those. Jamie?
All right, thank you, Sanford. Excellent, appreciate that. I hope you guys got a lot out of that, and whatever questions you might have, please feel free to go ahead and go down to the question box on your right, on the bar on the right-hand side, and there's an area for questions. Please enter your questions there, and we'll get those answered for you. And I have a couple here that we can start with while you're taking time to go ahead and put those in. Sanford, question was asked that what hardware is required to have DSPs collect the time and documentation? We're concerned about the number of tablets required.
Excellent. Good. Thanks for asking that. A tablet is but one device, and tablets that are suitable today are available literally for $100 that fulfill the purpose. So in those cases where you don't have tablets, customers use desktops, they use laptops, or even cell phones to be able to collect the needed information at the point of service. So my advice is use the hardware that is best fitting for the purpose, and then allocate the use of those tablets for the higher value. Obviously, a tablet is ultimately portable with the right amount of real estate, but the solution does not require a tablet.
All right, good. Continue to enter your questions. We have another one here. We're using other software for case management. Their billing system's not very good. Is one required to have all modules for time and attendance case management in order to do the billing?
It is not. Obviously, as you leverage multiple modules together, you get increasing advantages, but we have customers using other case management systems that where we simply do the billing from those systems. Most notably in managed care environments, there's been a rush to managed care environments in several of the states. And folks there are using our billing system and just taking an electronic feed from their case management into our billing system. So using our time and attendance and case management and other systems is not a requirement in order to do billing.
All right, good. One last question here, and we'll close out for the day. Someone said, we're impressed with what we've heard today. We'd like to know more or see a demo. How do we go about doing that, Sanford?
Very good. You can contact us via the same way that you registered for the webinar or our confirmation back, or you can use the information here on the screen and contact either Jamie or myself, or go to our website to find out more and how to contact us from there as well.
All right. Thank you, Sanford. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. We'll look forward to any feedback that you might have. If you'd like to send in questions, feel free to email us, and we will make this information available to you via the website, and we will look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you very much.